How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Okay, so today's game is another arcade port from, well, not really an arcade port. Well, you can kind of see it could be one. Well, it's based on an earlier arcade title from SNK. The arcade title was called TNK3, or Tank, simply in Japan. And since there was no rotary joystick type controls on the NES, much like SNK did with the Ikari Warrior titles and with Guerrilla War, they had to come up with an alternative. Therefore, this game was developed. It's interesting because it's set during World War II, and you control a tank that's piloted by a guy who's codenamed Snake, and bears a striking resemblance to the first player character in Ikari Warriors. Today's game, Iron Tank. Now, Iron Tank, like I said, is set in the time frame around D-Day. So the game starts with you storming Normandy, and you're basically riding from the beach through various points on a map, and fighting soldiers, enemy tanks, fixed guns, avoiding airplane bombing runs, rocket attacks, things like that. And you also, at the end of each level, fight a really big boss. In standard NES fare, it's a boss that's much bigger than your character sprite, much bigger than any of the enemies you've been facing, shoots a lot more bullets, takes a lot more damage, that type of thing. Now, what's cool about Iron Tank is that its power-up system, basically it fills up a meter, and there are 4 different weapons you can pick up. You have your quick fire or Vulcan, which is represented by a V, your armor piercing shells, which is represented by an F for some reason, bomb shells, which is represented by a B, and long range shells, which is represented by an L. Each one of these can be powered up independently, or you can actually turn each one on in the menu screen at once. It doesn't make sense to do that though. There is also a refuel option where you can, basically it functions like an energy tank on Mega Man. However, it's a meter that you fill up and not necessarily a one-time pickup. There are also enemy soldiers you can rescue that'll give you information on who you should find next, or the boss characters, things like that. Iron Tank is a cool little game. For 1988, it was pretty dope. I can't say it's aged very well though. Unlike Guerrilla War, which is probably SNK's best NES title, Iron Tank moves kind of slow. I mean, that's understandable considering you're controlling a tank, but it's kind of slow and plodding. So it hasn't aged as well as it should as far as gameplay is concerned. Graphically, it still looks as good as it still feels as good as it did back in '88 to look at your TV and see those sprites. Control wise, it still controls well. Like I said though, it just feels a little slow. But Iron Tank is a pretty good game and a pretty good addition to your NES library if you decide you want to pick it up. You can find a copy pretty cheap. I got this copy as part of a lot on eBay, but so you could probably get a copy for $5 or under, honestly. And you'll probably if you're a fan of top-down shooters like Commando, Akari Warriors, things like that, you'll get a kick out of Iron Tank. It feels pretty good. It's a fun game, and it's a great little distraction on the NES. This has been 8-Bit Animal, and I will catch you beautiful people tomorrow.